Good morning, guys. Welcome yet again to another video from Ted Says. Please like my channel, subscribe, and if you can, leave a comment. Today I want us to play a game. I'm going to close my eyes and then I'm going to ask us a couple of questions. For each and everything that has happened to you, I want you to drop down a finger. Here goes. I will start. I hope you can see my fingers, everyone. Drop a finger if you have ever been arrested. Drop a finger if you have ever been cuffed by police. Drop a finger if you have ever been harassed by police. Drop a finger if you have ever evaded police. Drop a finger if a policeman has ever asked you to bribe them. Drop a finger if you have never bribed a policeman. Drop a finger if you have ever bribed a policeman. Drop a finger if you have ever warned anybody about impending police arrest. Drop a finger if you have ever gone through a police check, gotten away safely when you knew you were in trouble. I don't know how many you got. I'm pretty sure I have gone through most of the questions that I've asked. But I think if I was to ask more genuinely, if you have ever bribed a policeman, I think that is a question that most of us probably dropped a finger. Or if you have ever evaded police, I think most of us, have dropped a finger. Continuing in the series of the lessons that I have learned with the Covid-19 pandemic, there is the whole issue about policemen and whether or not they are using their authority as it should be used. When the curfew was imposed, when it was put in place, I remember there were many people who turned out to actually talk about police brutality. There are many people and many videos that did rounds on social media where people had undergone some sort of brutality or some sort of problematic situations with the police. I remember particularly there was this guy in the video who, was saying he had gone to buy soap and bread, and then it was 7 p.m. He does not know where the police came from, and they whipped him up. Actually, the guy had these heavy, big bruises, and he was bleeding. And I remember at the end of the video, he even got less concerned about how bad he had been beaten up. I remember him saying, hata hiyo rungu amenipiga nayo, hiyo rungu ikuwa sanitized. Naona amenipatia corona na hiyo rungu. I also remember that when this curfew was put in place, that particular day I was leaving work, and then that day I had worked a bit late, so I was going home, so I passed by a certain place and then my phone rang. I had to stop and pick up the call. But then what caught my attention was that just after a certain junction where I had stopped, there was this host of policemen who had, parked in a civilian police double cabin van and pickup, sorry. And these guys, they were going about their stories and laughing and talking about how they have made arrests and talking about how they are going to go ahead and even make more arrests. And then there were these two young men who were walking from a certain distance, coming past that point. And then I saw something very funny. These policemen actually ducked and hid into those stalls where the mama boggers normally do their trade. As soon as these gentlemen reached that point, these guys jumped out of their hiding like the ambush they normally talk about. And before I knew it, one guy had been clobbered. I don't know if it was with the butt of a gun or this guy just had a very hard hand, but this guy was given a slap and he went all the way down. He fell like a log, actually. The other one tried to run and I had a gun cock. And he stopped where he was and, he was, of course, nabbed and he was beaten senseless and ordered to get into the van. And the van drove off after a few minutes. I also remember a certain time where I had gone somewhere and then I was coming back a little late. And so I of course I'd been from work, but I passed somewhere. So I reached the slip road that joins the main road to where I stay. And the moment I joined that slip road, you know, I saw a police pickup come from nowhere with the sirens blaring and the police lights on. And they came and stood right in front of me. And they ordered me to, you know, lower my windows. And they were asking me, who are you? Where are you from? What time is it? So I produced my ID. They noticed I'm a medic. So one of the two of the guys, you know, walked away, but 3 guys remained, and they kept asking, we unatoka wapi? Sahi ni sangapi, unatoka wapi? Hata tunajua umetoka ku save life, but saizi ni sangapi? Sunge save life mapema. And I'm like, there are some things you can't help. So they're like, okay, sasa fanya hivi, wewe kuja tuongee. So I told them, why do you want me to come out of the car and come and talk to you? Why can't you talk to me when I'm in the car? They're like, no, you know, it's a bit late, so we have to talk and see how you're going to come away from, you know our vehicle is parked right in front of you. And I told them, well, you have my number plate and you have my ID, you know where I work exactly, so should there be any issue, you can come for me there at that place. But for now, I want to go home because I'm very tired and I've had a long day. So I reversed and I made way to go, and I could hear them clicking and making these sounds of, you know, even if he's a medic, he should have talked and he should have done something. Behind me was a certain guy who was ferrying chickens, and his pickup truck was full with chickens all the way mpaka juu. And I remember him being asked the question, sasa kuku imekuwa essential service. I wanted to laugh, but I couldn't laugh because deep down I knew that guy was going to have a very, very, very long evening or long night at that time. And then came this day when I just arrived work, so I parked, and I have this habit of putting on a mask between home and work. And then whatever I have put on, I leave it there so that I can now go to work and put on the paraphernalia at work. And on this particular day, you know, I just reached work, parked the car, and then I left my mask there because I didn't want to go to work and then it gets contaminated and it's a reusable one. So the short distance between where I parked the car and the office, these people emerged from nowhere. And they asked me, wewe, wapi mask? So I told them, I've left the mask in the car. There's no traffic here because this is the parking lot and this is where I work. So I'm just getting in here to get my work paraphernalia. They were like, no, you are in public. Whether this is a parking lot and this is where you work or what, this is a public place, you should be having a mask. And I understood their point. So I told them, fine, it's okay, but I'm just getting in here and I want to get a mask. They told me no. And before I even said anything, these guys just took out their handcuffs and cuffed me and told me to keep walking. And they paraded me, you know, through the streets. I think they were jovial and they wanted to demonstrate that they were arresting people. So they paraded me through the streets and we kept walking and walking and walking. And they kept saying one thing, you know, talk to us. How do you want to talk to us? How do you want us to let you go back to work? And I kept telling them the work I do is very sensitive. I cannot transfer what I've had at work to go with it at home. I have to leave it at work for safety purposes. And so when they insisted about the bribe, I told them, fine, take me to the police station, open charges so that I know how to defend myself, and then I will discuss and see how I can be defended and probably how I can take this away from me. And they became cocky, and now they were starting to become wild and angry, and I maintained my ground. And as we neared the central police station, they told me, okay, we're going to let you go like a gentleman, but please do not repeat. And so I walked away and I left. Many of us have actually experienced police brutality, especially during this season, especially during this pandemic. It is unfortunate that the government has good intentions of protecting civilians and the public. It is unfortunate that after these orders were given, we did not take time to sit down the people in authority, the disciplined forces, to explain to them what exactly we wanted, what exactly we needed, and how exactly they should handle this whole matter. We left it in such a way that in the beginning, when the curfew was instituted, there were many people who were beaten, injured, and I remember these pictures and videos that were doing round, policemen rounding together people. And yet we have been told to keep social distancing, to keep physical distancing, to wear masks, to wash hands and sanitize our hands. And yet, in the beginning, we were beating up people and putting them together in groups and hurling them into tight, not ventilated vehicles, putting them in cells and so on. It beats the logic, because you're trying to avoid and fight something that spreads through droplets. And therefore, we should have taken time to educate even the people in authority, to make them understand that this is the goal that we want to ascertain. If we leave that open the way we have left it open, we still have policemen who now more than ever are getting more bribes because people want to move, because people want to, get from point A to point B. And our culture has been one that is very interesting. We know, everybody knows this. Most of us would rather evade police or bribe the police. And the police are made in such a way that they are willing to run after a person who has evaded them, and they are also willing to take bribes. It forms a very funny mixture or combination, because here is a person who is willing to bribe, and here is a person who is willing to take the bribe. Here's a person who is willing to run. And let me tell you, Kenyans can run. We can run. Look at the people who are scaling walls and jumping over to go away from the quarantine places. We can run. And so we can engage ourselves in running battles. We've done this since long time ago, during elections, post-election times, during trials, and so on. We know how to run. So you have a combination of people who like running after Kenyans, number one, and people who like taking bribes. And you have Kenyans who like running and giving bribes. You are out actually doing a countermeasure. At the end of the day, some of them will hit, some of them will be able to work with what you have given them. But majority of the time, we have a situation whereby people will try to do things knowing that they can weasel their way out of it. And those who cannot weasel their way out of it, those who are unfortunate and they cannot be able to bargain on themselves, they receive the short end. And that is being whooped and being beaten senseless. So this is what I think. I think and I feel that much as we have trusted the authorities to ensure they enforce the rules that have been given out by the public health departments, we need to educate them to know how to be humane. We need to educate them to know what to do, when to do, how to do it, so that like other policemen and other people in authority who are good and forward-bearing, who actually understand that they need to help and not intimidate and threaten and make the situation unbearable, such that people either run away or disappear, such that when you come to a village to test someone who is just an individual, everybody runs away like in Rongai and hides in toilets and in bathrooms and in houses. We need to empower them so that they know that they are coming to help mitigate a situation, not to come and aggravate it by spreading fear and intimidation. So it makes every Kenyan who is very creative to actually start designing ways of running away and doing what is not supposed to be done. So it's just an appeal. I think the health sector, the people who are leading the health sector in the country, need to put down these people and explain to them clearly. The authorities, normally like policemen, army men, and so on, they have medical departments. These people need to be at the forefront to educate their peers and colleagues to understand what we are dealing with and to understand how to handle it, so that we do not continue spreading fear amongst Kenyans. My friend said the biggest hit to a person's immunity is fear.